Hello and welcome to today's webinar. I'm John Bennett, your host for this session, and I'm joined by a few of my colleagues, whom I'll introduce shortly. Before we begin, a few housekeeping items. We encourage everyone to ask questions throughout the webinar. Simply type your questions into the chat box and we'll hold a Q&A session at the end. We'll address as many questions as possible with follow-up provided if needed. And the Veryon team is also able to extend our availability past the allotted 30 minutes to address as many questions as possible. If you experience any audio or video issues, refreshing your browser should help resolve them. And today we'll demonstrate how Veryon's guided troubleshooting solution can help you tackle technician shortages and the related challenges that come with that. We're really excited for an engaging webinar, so let's dive in. As I mentioned earlier, my name is John Bennett. I'm a consultant for the Veryon Diagnostics platform. I'm joined by Robert Ross, Diagnostics Consultant, and Dave Purfirst, Solutions Director here at Veryon. We'll spend most of our time in the technology today, where we'll have Robert and Dave walk you through a demonstration of guided troubleshooting. But before we get started, though, we'd love to understand the primary troubleshooting challenges your teams are facing. You should be seeing a poll now. We'd like to get your feedback on what best reflects your experience right now. All right, thank you. So we are in a very interesting time in aviation and commercial aviation specifically, especially when we think about where we find ourselves with surging demand on the heels of the pandemic. But there are challenges when we think about aircraft delivery, which means that operators have to depend more and more on older aircraft. In your case, the 737 NGs and CRJs. These aircraft often require complex troubleshooting, which can lead to increased downtime, inconsistent first-time fix rates, and higher maintenance costs. And the mechanic labor shortage is expected to continue to get worse over the next several years as well, which means that efficiency and productivity is already at a premium. In addition, if you think about 737 NGs and CRJs, unlike some of the newer aircraft that are out there, these aircraft provide significantly less sensor data to work with when you think about traditional troubleshooting processes. Simply put, without experienced technicians, maintenance teams are struggling to keep up. And so Veryon is placing a tremendous amount of emphasis in everything that we do with our broad category of diagnostic solutions at helping to solve for failed fixes and being able to drive optimal fix effectiveness for our clients. Veryon's AI-powered guided troubleshooting solution addresses these challenges head-on. Our reasoning engine helps technicians quickly diagnose issues by leveraging historical data and predicting the most likely causes. The known frequency feature provides real-time insights, helping even less experienced technicians make accurate decisions quickly. And by using data from nearly 800,000 monthly maintenance events, we help our clients improve first-time fix rates and reduce downtime by identifying chronic defects before they become costly problems. Now, another quick poll as we transition to the demonstration portion of the webinar. We're curious to know what solution your operation is currently using for troubleshooting. I'll give everybody a few seconds to make a selection. All right, thank you again. I'll now hand it over to Robert to kick off the guided troubleshooting demonstration. Robert?
Hey, thanks, John, and good morning, everyone. I see we have some current customers joining and some new customers as well. So welcome, everyone. As John mentioned, we're going to take a look at the guided troubleshooting platform today, the web-based, and then Dave will come in later and show you the mobile app as well and how that works together. For some of the current customers, they're going to be familiar with defect analysis. And on this screen that I'm sharing, there's two different ways to access this module. Historically, these two items were separate. So you had defect analysis, which is what you're seeing on my screen right now, and which some of our current attendees here today are familiar with. This was formerly known as Chronic X. It was rebranded as Defect Analysis last year. And then you have the guided troubleshooting, which was known as Spotlight and currently being used by OEMs like Airbus and Pratt & Whitney and Rolls-Royce. But each of these can be accessed separate or together. And that's what we're going to go through today. So from this page, we're looking at chronics. So these are all observed faults. These are all automated to be clustered together. So if I went into my fleet and selected an aircraft that I was troubleshooting at the time, you can click on one of these clusters, which are showing all the defects within this chronic. And from this tab, you can go into your initial symptoms, which is going to give you a very specific set of solutions to choose from. Upon choosing this, will take you into the initial symptoms page. So that's the first way. If you're currently a customer of defect analysis, you can access it that way. The second option, if you're not a defect analysis customer, is you can access it from the symptoms tab. So and just to reiterate, this is built out currently as an off-the-shelf item for 737s and CRJs. But we're not limited to any aircraft type or variant, whether that be commercial, military, business, or general aviation aircraft. All of this can be built out. So by selecting one of these aircraft and selecting a tail number, this is going to give you all the ATA chapters built out, as well as some sub-chapters and some individual messages. For this demonstration, we're going to look at an ECAS problem on the CRJs, which is something that was a pretty big issue at one time related to an actual fuel pump. And in this specific example, I want to show you how a technician would use the initial symptom page, which is the first part of the troubleshooting, but then they would also have the guided troubleshooting as well. So I'm just going to point out a couple things that you were looking at. First, you have the symptom message at the top, and below that you'll have a summary. And this summary will have some basic observed faults that you're looking at and what's going on with this specific issue. Below that are your known possible solutions. And these solutions are listed in ascending order from most likely to resolve the problem to least likely. This specific demonstration doesn't have all the functionality built into it. So look at this as kind of a basic template or framework. Our customers have a lot of room to customize. We also have the ability to add in part information, service bulletins, as well as known cause frequency, and giving a percentage of the overall efficiency of these individual solutions here. So under the causes, you're going to see some additional information. As I mentioned, if you're using the defect analysis, your corrective actions can be listed in the defect history here, as well as the 2-digit ATA that's related to them. You also have the ability to look at previous notes, as well as previous troubleshooting sessions, and access those at any time to see what technicians may have done, or what if they're stuck in an area, you can go in and assist. So there's a lot of transparency between the groups to go in and work together and triage this problem to get to the results a lot faster. Another feature of this initial symptom page is that we can hyperlink to all of your internal documentation, whether you store those in-house or whether they're stored through an OEM, which is typically common if you're a Boeing or Airbus operator. You would need third-party access to these, but all of these can be hyperlinked. So at one click of the mouse, it'll take you right to that specific documentation to access. So from this page, the specific solution that I'm looking for is related to the left fuel pump. So if I locate that here, it's going to take me to another drop down, which is going to give me the type of solution this came from. So you're going to have two in this case. One is going to be the traditional standard OEM references. The other is the field experience, which makes this tool very powerful in the field because it allows experienced technicians to capture their steps and give that information and pass it along to some of the newer recruits coming in. So this field experience is what we're looking at. You'll notice there's photos that can be added to these solutions. There's some descriptions in here and references to specific manuals. And then you also have a nice explanation summary down here at the bottom. With this specific issue, this was a fuel pump that, there was electromagnetic interference. So during the pre-check, they would go start this fuel pump up. There was magnetic interference. It would get the stall fail message. And when they were trying to fix this problem, they were replacing a lot of different parts that were unrelated to the pump. There was a service bulletin release for this. But over that period of time, technicians were trying to take the first few steps that were outlined in the troubleshooting manual. And what was going on is there was a lot of unnecessary parts being replaced. Come to find out, to fix this permanently, you needed to replace the entire fuel pump, which later came out in the service bulletin. So again, this is to, one, get you to a better first-time fix rate, provide the information that's going to fix the problem the first time, but also have that field experience in there so you can see what's happened on other aircraft and be able to get this problem resolved the first time. So a lot of delays and cancellations associated with this. And there's a lot of other solutions here that could be related. However, on the left fuel boost pump, this is the solution that is going to correct the issue. Now, from this page, given that this is kind of a first step in the troubleshooting process, if somebody could not resolve this, or maybe they want to go into a little bit more detail, this is where the guided troubleshooting really comes in handy. By clicking on this page, it's going to take you to a new drop-down, which is a question and answer based system to resolve the issue or get you to the best possible solution. So as I begin to answer these questions that that you see here in the screen on the right-hand side, this set of solutions on the left is going to get narrower and narrower. Now, for this specific problem, there's a lot of steps in this, and I'll just kind of scroll down so you can see everything that's in there. But this is where a technician would come in, be able to go line by line. They could even skip around. We don't recommend that, but they can do that. And as you notice, as I click on these, what we started once with 18, we're already down to 15. However, there's a significant amount of steps in this specific solution to eventually get us to the main one. Now, as I mentioned before, there will be percentages in a final version of this that a customer would use that would actually give percentages based on the field experience. So the more you use this tool, the AI that's in the background that's using that's capturing all this is going to give percentages based on the relevance of the results. So if this problem, resolved this 78% of the time, you will see a percentage here in these. Again, there's additional details in all of these, but most importantly, I think I just want to kind of point out that if a solution is not shown here, you have the ability to go in and fill this out by aircraft serial number, any removed parts, any relevant information, and then you can save this solution and it would be added into the list of possibilities here. If, let's say, this question and answer, you're still stuck, at any time you can click a note. If I select a new note, you see this assistance button. This can go directly to an internal source or a selected OEM. So that way they can respond in real time. You could type in a note here, select any images, save that, and now it's in the note history that I showed you earlier on the initial symptom page. And additional technicians, reliability teams, MCC, MOC can comment here, add replies, and begin to help virtually at any time in this solution. You also have a tree here beside the notes that gives you a breakdown of the troubleshooting. So if you wanted to go in and look at it this way, you could expand and collapse these steps, kind of get a better idea. You can print this page out as well and look at it to see what's going on. Just another tool inside of this. Before I wrap up here and pass this over to Dave momentarily, I just want to go back to the initial symptom page here. You'll notice when I go back, down here at the bottom, the troubleshooting sessions that I have started can be accessible at any time. So, if you stop and start somewhere and want to go back in, you can easily click on this. It'll take you right to the starting point. Let's say the internet goes down or you get disconnected. That troubleshooting session will be accessible and you can go down and pick up where you left off. That's a brief summary. If you'd like to learn more, there should be a link coming up shortly in the chat that you can select, and John and I can reach out and set up a demo with you for further information. Dave, I'm going to pass it over to you now to go through the mobile version of what I've shown you earlier.
Great, thanks, Bobby. Appreciate that. Let me go ahead. I pulled up the mobile version just to kind of show you that it is mobile. If I rotate my iPad, it will change size. So what Veryon is trying to do here is get the information in the hands to the people that are on the ground doing the work. So that's what this mobile application is designed for. It's very similar to what you just saw with what Bobby was presenting on the web. If I'm, that technician that's working maybe an overnight check, and I ran into a non-routine issue on one of my scheduled tasks, I can start to do research on that discrepancy. So here I can go ahead and research a new symptom. So what is that problem that I'm trying to resolve? I can select the different aircraft. So we're going to work with our 737s in this demonstration here. What is that model type? That again. Not sure what's going on here. Okay, let me do a refresh. I apologize for this. Let me log off and log back in. I apologize for this. Let me stop sharing my screen.
And feel free to click on the Q&A at any time just to ask questions. We have one come in, but you can post them anonymously or under your name at any time if there's anything that can't come up so far. We'll try to get to all of those before the end of the session.
Yeah, and Bobby, maybe do we want to address I know the one question out there, it says in the symptoms tab, how do you determine which solution is most likely to address the fault?
Yeah, and on that symptoms tab, and thanks for bringing that up, John, I did just send a message back, but one of the questions that John mentioned is, how do you know which solution is most likely to address the fault? And by default, it is set up from most likely to least likely. So there isn't a percentage in this version because we're in a demonstration. However, when you're connected to the fleet and you're capturing troubleshooting sessions, there will be a percentage based on historical results of which solution is most or least likely to resolve it, with a percentage beside that too. You have a visual there.
All right, sorry about that little hiccup there. So let's go ahead and restart that demonstration. Thanks for filling in the time, guys, for that. So as I select my model type, I can then enter the aircraft that I'm working on, so that tail number in there. And then what is the issue that I'm trying to resolve? So let's say that I have an air conditioning issue, there's a pack light on. So I can start typing what that description or that symptom is. And it will start to reduce that list down of symptoms that I can then start researching. So let's say it was the left pack light on. And what that's going to do is it's going to give me a summary. So just like you saw on the web, there's a summary of the issue itself. As I scroll, I can see known possible solutions. And based off our reasoning engine, we're displaying the most likely known possible solution that will fix this problem. We also have the ability to look at defect history against this tail number. So if there is history about this in the past, we can go ahead and research that. I can then, show more information about that. What was the corrective action? Also, I can go into the chronic view. So this is tying back into the defect analysis side of the application to then be able to research what was a failed fix, what was a good fix. I can also look at any notes that were taken during that chronic review, and I can also go back to that symptom page as well. And just like in the web, you have the ability to get to your documentation as well from the mobile app. So let's just say that, this is temperature sensor is the likely known solution. So you're an experienced technician, based off of history in your experience that is most likely the solution that you want to take on. But you also have the ability to research and make sure that all your observations match up with what you're thinking the solution will fix. And then it gives you the description, the cause, the repair type, and the explanation. And then you can enter, did this solution complete this or fix the problem? If you were a inexperienced technician, you need help troubleshooting this, you do have the ability to launch a troubleshooting session, just like you saw in the web with Bobby. And on the right-hand side are the questions that you want to answer to get your known possible solution lists down. So right now, we're displaying 65 possible solutions. And as I start to answer these questions, so I'll just start with the phase of flight, for example. This happened during cruise. I can hit done selecting. What that's going to do is it's going to start to eliminate those solutions that are unlikely to solve this problem. And as I continue on answering the questions, it's going to start to minimize that list. I can also put in a bytecode as well. So if I'm receiving that bytecode, I can see, hey, it's reduced down to 10. And then as I review these things, I can say, okay, well, I can go through a FIM process, or I can go right into our field experience process here and drill into that. I can get my references to the documentation that I need to correct this problem. Again, verifying the description as well as the key observations. And then I can go ahead and mark that as fixing my problem. Just like you saw on the web, you're able to record the remove part and serial number and the install part serial number. You can also record troubleshooting time as well as repair time and any remarks within that. And then you can go ahead and submit that, and that's going to record a troubleshooting session in the system, which I always have the ability to go back to and research if I needed to. So I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to John and answer the questions that you have.
Yeah, no, thank you, Robert and Dave. Great job. We've got a few other questions out there I think we can go over. I'll throw them out there and then the team can kind of address it. But first one we've got here. Can Veryon Diagnostics work with operators' existing technical publication systems, or do they need to rely on OEM manuals?
So to answer that question, John, so Veryon Diagnostics work with both. So these are hyperlinks that we will configure the point to where your approved documentation resides. So if that's, for example, with Boeing going to their Boeing Toolbox solution, we can do that. If it's internal documentation, we can go to your document management system.
All right. Thank you,
Thanks,
Dave.
And it looks like we did have a question kind of related to that. You know, is this program communicating with my Boeing fleet for Boeing company aircrafts, or we have to upload the documents to the program as we need it? How to keep the program updated? And so, yes, there's several different ways that you can upload the technical publications. Ideally, we'd like to be linked so that things are in real time. But we try to take as much manual effort out of that. Our team on our side of the knowledge base experts and our subject matter experts can do the authoring for most operators. We have relationships with some that are 50-50. So we may do some of the authoring and their subject matter experts verify that data. But yes, to answer your question, we can be linked to out external sources like My Boeing Fleet, or if you're an Airbus operator, Skywise. So there's several different ways that we can connect to those technical publications.
Thank you. Can you explain where the database and data come from to build these scenarios?
Yeah.
Sure.
Go ahead, Dave.
Bobby. Yeah, no, please go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, for this specific data, the CRJ data came directly from Bombardier before they were acquired by MHI. So this is CRJ data that was built by the OEM and provided to us by the OEM. We also can work directly with the operator. So in this case, the 737 data came from one of the larger operators here in the Americas, and we built that out around the 2020, 2021. So that is specific 737 data that is anonymized. The other unique thing about our system is that we capture about 750,000 maintenance events a month. That's a lot of defects and corrective actions to look at. So we have the ability to anonymize that data so you can see what other corrective actions have been done in other fleets and within other operators as well. So a lot of ways that we can get the data in there and get it in the technician's hands while still keeping, proprietary information separated from the individuals.
Thank you. Can Veryon Diagnostics integrate with other aircraft maintenance tracking systems to streamline the reporting and the learning processes?
The short answer is yes. So we've integrated with multiple M&E solutions with our current customer base, from old mainframe servers to new, client servers to web applications. We can give you a detailed list of those solutions that we integrate with, but it's a very simple way of doing that. So we can integrate in real time using our web services. But we're reliant on the M&E solution and their capability of integrating as well. So if they don't have that capability, then we would use a flat file exchange. We have a secured FTP site to bring in those files to update the data. So we have customers that send us that file every 15 minutes, where other customers may send that 4 or 5 times a day. So we're very flexible in our integration with your M&E solutions that you currently have.
Great. All right. I think we've got one other one here that I definitely want to make sure we address. Is this program communicating with My Boeing Fleet for Boeing Company aircraft? Or we have to upload the documents to the program if we need it? How to keep the program updated, essentially.
I did get that one earlier, John, on the My
That's what I thought. That's why I wanted to make sure that we did cover
one. And then we had another one that I just answered, and that was for fixes. The question is, for fixes, are they shared for all users, airlines, such as best practice specific to the operator? So we have 2 ways of doing this. One, we can keep the data all internalized. We can keep it specific to yours, your fleet only, or we can bring in other global data based on shared fleets, meaning if you have similar fleets, we could bring in those corrective actions related to those specific ATAs, and we can identify best practices. So Like I said, this is where your basic framework starts in the demonstration we showed you. However, we're unlimited as to what we can incorporate and continue to build out customized based on what your operational needs are. So we have some flexibility there, but I would say the answer is yes. We do have the ability to bring in that shared data of all airlines that are at least using us on the defect analysis portion of the portfolio.
All right.
Great.
I think that wraps up the questions that I've seen come in. I think before we wrap up, though, we'd love to hear what next steps might be for you all. Are you ready to dive deeper with a personalized demo? Would you like to explore pricing options potentially? Just kicking the tires? We'd love to kind of hear about where you guys are in the process. I think, Danny, if you wouldn't mind populating that poll for us.
Yeah, and there is a link that is in the webinar chat that you can click on. Just fill out the information. John or I will reach out to schedule more personalized demonstration. We're even offering 30-day trials right now of this. So if you're an existing customer, we have the ability to flip this module on so you can test it out. And if you're a non-customer, that's okay too. We can set up a demonstration and then an evaluation period so you can put it in the hands of your technicians and really get a good idea if it's something that'll work for you. So I just wanted to point that out there. John, did the demo populate? I think we're good. I think we have all the polls in. Again, thank you everybody for joining and attending. John, Dave, do you have anything else from your side before we
just thanks for the attendance. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you all for joining us today. We hope you found it valuable. Level of engagement was great. Watch out for a follow-up email in the webinar recording and any resources that we might think would be helpful. But be sure to check your inbox. Thank you again. We look forward to seeing you in future sessions. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.